Hello, everyone. My name is Kwamia Ross, and today's message is called God is Going to Feed You with Your Own Flesh. Now, this is a message for those who have oppressed God's people and will not free his people, who have kept his people, who have done wrong and injustice. And this message is specifically regarding the Children and Family Services, who I've been dealing with now since February 14th of 2020, when my children were first wrongfully removed from the house based off a bunch of slandering lies that were told by the caseworker. Now, today, I received a text message from the caseworker, which I'm going to start putting here. Caseworker I've been working with, her name is Becky Sawyer, and she asked me, can my daughter go to Kalahari coming up in towards the middle of August? Now, we have a court date on August 2nd, which my children are supposed to be coming home. My kids are already been gone. It'll be 18 months coming up here shortly, and they're supposed to come home. They've already did one extension where they asked for an extension, and the judge magistrate Jody Wallace honored that extension. They kept them a longer, 6 more months longer than when they originally supposed to have been taken. Now, here's the thing. I asked her, I says, well, shouldn't she be home by then? Because we have a court date coming up. You're supposed to release them. Because I told her that I want her to come home. My daughter's been saying she wants to come home. And so she says, let me pull this up. And this is what she says in response to what I asked her. She says, well, we filed for a second extension from the last meeting that we had, so you and Becky, they call my daughter Becky, could have more family counseling. Now, see, this is the game. This is why I said God is going to feed them with their own flesh, because this is the game that Children and Family Services has been playing all along. Now, my kids were taken out over a year ago. There was ample time for them to set up services if they claimed that we had all these issues, or that I needed therapy and that we need to work on, our relationship, our family relationship, and then getting us reunified, because they always say their agenda and their ultimate goal is to reunify the family, reunify the children, bring them back home. But these services were not ultimately started in the beginning. They were not initially given to us. They took them out the home, and they waited about 6 or 7 months before they even evaluated me. It was several months before they even gave me a mental health evaluation. So you sit up in court and tell the court that I have a mental illness, but then you wait months, about 5 or 6 months before you even give me a mental health evaluation. So basically you kept my kids based off of what? Based off some allegations by a caseworker who has no medical degree. And so this is the thing. They get an evaluation after evaluation from me. It started off with me getting 3 mental health evaluations because they were trying to look for something. There was nothing wrong, but they were trying to look for something. So they got 3 mental health evaluations. They sent me with one first from the court, which they never gave me the results from. The second mental health evaluation came from another agency. Then I went finally to Ohio Guidestone. So they started setting up around November. They set up family therapy between me and my son. We've been going every week for family therapy where we talk and work on things which there really weren't any issues to work on, but they have to have services for themselves to keep a paycheck. So this is what they do. So they sat together and we would talk and about management, coping skills, or whatever else they want to talk about. So we've been doing that since November. Now, I've been questioning Becky, my caseworker, and along with her therapist, Alina Phillips. I think they're through Ohio Mentor, but I've been questioning them, like, when is the family therapy going to be starting with my daughter? Because I felt it should be concurrent. If I'm going to be if we're all supposed to be working on coming home at the same time, and my children are supposed to be reunified, then why are you setting services up for my son, but not with my daughter? And so they said, oh, well, we want to wait for you to have your therapy first. So this is another thing. They delayed my therapy. Like I said, it took a long time for you to even give me an evaluation, because this is a game they play. They want to keep extending so they can keep your kids longer and keep them in the system and keep funding and money coming in off your children. So, they weren't trying to get us any services. They weren't trying to fulfill any type of needs that we had. If they said that we needed therapy, normally a rational thing to do once you take the family out is to quickly get the services started as soon as possible. Why would you have the children and the parents, sitting here for several months before you even initiate any type of services? And they want to claim, it's because of COVID or all this and that. But, all of these facilities were still open. All the organizations were still open during COVID. A lot of these places were not closed down. And so those were just excuses. Okay, and they think people are stupid, and they get away with doing these things because the judges do not do anything. The attorneys do not fight for you or say anything. So it's like they have equal freedom and liberty to do whatever they want because they have everyone on their side. And this is what they've been doing to children for years. They have children in the system and they will delay and prolong it and keep them away from their families. And some of the kids never even come home at all. There's no reunification. They end up putting them over and they adopted children because they've been gone for so long. These kids want to come home. They're separated from their siblings. My children were not around each other at all. They didn't even attempt to place them in the same home. Usually they say they try to keep the siblings together. They did not even put my children together at all. They immediately separated them and sent my son off to one place and kept my daughter away. It took me to start initiating, even to have visits between the two of them. They just recently started visiting each other because I had to fight for that. And somehow I had to finally put together, whenever my son has a visit, I would make sure that if I have a visit with her, to try and somehow make those visits together through either FaceTime or in person so I can get them to see each other. They didn't care about any of that with us. So this is the thing they do. Now let's go back to the therapy sessions. We had a staffing meeting back in February where I talked to them. I said, when are we going to start having these meetings? I questioned. They said, we want you to have more therapy, because they had took so forever just to start initiating my therapy. They claim, there was a waiting list, this or that. It's always an excuse for everything. And they intentionally and purposely delay it to the very last minute. She didn't start setting up anything to like a month before my court case was supposed to start. And this is what they do. And this is what they did with my daughter. So they said, okay, we're going to start eventually having you have family therapy. So they set up one meeting with the family therapy. And here's the thing, the game they play. And a lot of people don't think that they're into sorcery. A lot of people don't know about the spiritual realm, and they're very clueless that you don't think that people can do things. Now, I went to my first meeting, but it was raining very hard. The meeting was out in Canton. I had to drive over an hour away. It was about an hour, 10-minute drive. And it's very difficult sometimes for me to drive in the rain, because it's very difficult. Two of my tires do not have the right tread on it, and I don't have the funding to purchase new tires, so it's kind of difficult for me to be on the road. It's very hazardous. So when I was supposed to go to this meeting, all of a sudden it just started pouring down, raining, where you couldn't even see anything. And this is another thing. Every time I have a visit with my son or some type of meeting to attend with my daughter, it starts raining. It could be a clear forecast or sunny weather on the forecast, but all of a sudden it starts raining. And this is the thing they do. They control the weather. They use sorcery and witchcraft and send out demons. The Lord been told me about this. This is how I know about it. They send out principalities to control the weather, or things that happen on the freeway or interstate that you're traveling to delay you. Because this is what they want to do. They want to make it so, okay, they can say, she didn't attend the meeting, so now we have a right to keep the kids. And people don't know that it's a spiritual battle. But God knows. They've done all these evil, wicked things. And I'm the one who's sitting here exposing it. If I didn't go through this, I wouldn't be able to expose it. I was hurt and devastated when my children first were taken out of this house, but the Lord showed me how so many kids have been brought into the corrupt system, and He wants to bring them down and expose them and free His children. Now, I've been speaking out about everything they do. Now, the first meeting, I made it there by the grace of God. We made it to the first meeting. Now, the second meeting, we didn't get to attend. The second meeting where we had scheduled a visit with my son, so that kind of overlapped. And I said, okay, I can't make it to this one, but we can make it to the next one. So then the caseworker calls me back, the therapist, Elena Phillips, and says, well, you know what? We're not going to have any more meetings for your daughter for the entire month. I won't have any more meetings till the middle of August. So we're basically only able to have one meeting. But had they had started these meetings sooner, when I had been asking them to do it, instead of waiting to the very last minute, I would have had many meetings with my daughter. We would have been caught up on our family therapy like I have with my son. We've had multiple meetings over the past several months. Like I said, his therapy started in November. The therapy with my daughter should have started at the same time. They said they wanted me to undergo mental health therapy myself before I engaged in therapy with my daughter. Why is that? What was the justification behind that? Why do I need to undergo separate mental health therapy before I can have family therapy with my daughter, but I didn't need that with my son? What's the difference between my son and daughter? They're both my children. We're in the same household. They're siblings. Why is that? No one ever gave any type of reasoning behind it. No one ever gave any reasoning behind it. And see, this is the games that Children and Family Services play, and they get away with it. So today, she's saying she filed a second extension, meaning they want to keep my kids another 6 months. Each extension is for 6 months. So basically, that will be 24 months. If the court decides to honor this, if the judge honors this second extension, my kids will be gone for 24 months. Now, mind you, all the things they're going through, like I said, my son has been going AWOL. I've suspected him of being abused at the facility where he is at. He has been shot at. He has been stabbed in his neck, and nothing was done about that. My daughter was left unattended with her current foster care parent and had sex as a special needs child, even though they said it was consensual. She has cognitive delays, but you say it's consensual. She knew nothing about sex until she was introduced to these people and in the home with her current foster mother, but you want to ask for an extension. See, they like to cover up all these things. A lot of children get exposed to abuse and all these different things because Children and Family Services comes in, the corrupt government who only cares about money and a paycheck for themselves, and they're not trying to benefit the children. If they were trying to help my children, they would have started services for us as soon as they took them out of the home. It would not have taken several months or over a year. It's been over a year, and you just now start family therapy with me and my daughter. You just now start group therapy after having them for over a year. Why is that? Any rational judge would use any type of deductive reasoning to determine why that happened and would not honor that. Only a corrupt person would honor this second extension. And Jody Wallace, the magistrate Jody Wallace, was corrupt as well for honoring the first extension and even honoring the order to take my kids out of the home, even though there was no type of proof of me having a mental illness. There was no legal evaluation, no medical evaluation to back any of it up. But yet they go off of the allegations of a caseworker who said she looked at me and it looked like I was suffering from a mental illness. How can you look at someone and determine that they have a mental illness? That is a question that should have been asked, because I want to know that myself, because there are doctors out here who go to school for years. They get a license and take all types of tests and exams to get the type of knowledge, and they cannot just look at someone and determine that they have a mental illness. So how is it this caseworker with no medical background can determine that, and that this magistrate would order all of this based off of some lies and slandering and allegations? This all goes back, if you watch the original video, when I talk about exposing Richmond Heights local school district, it started when they lied and said that I didn't have my kids in school. And they were in school. But I'm exposing Children and Family Services because they have done everything underhanded, and they have their gang. They have their gang who does everything with them. They're all in it together, conspiring together, the group homes, the police officers, the judges and the magistrates, the prosecutors, the attorneys, the guardian ad litems. They're all in a group together. And people don't get the help they need because no one fights for the victims, who are the parents and the children. My children want to come home, and they've been crying and wanting to come home. My daughter stressed how many times she want to come home. No one has listened to their rights. They have two attorneys who are supposed to argue for them. What are they saying about the situation? I want to see what they say, because you know what? Everyone is coming under judgment. Everyone is coming under judgment for refusing to let go of these children. They have done this to many children. Many children have been abused, not to mention that Becky Sawyer arranged for my son to have contact with a pedophile. There were allegations going all the way back from when they were small when this first happened, when I said I suspected that the father had done these things to him, and I even filed a police report. But ask me the question, why is it that she claims that those are just allegations, they weren't proven, but you kept my son, the father away from my daughter, who had an adverse response, and a very negative response when she even heard his voice on the court phone call. He was on the phone call. They actually had him come to court. She didn't expect him to be there. And the foster parent had actually witnessed and testified that my daughter went in her room for the entire day and did not want to come out because she heard her father's voice. She remembers all the abuse and the things that happened to her. She did not want to speak to him. That just hearing his voice made her feel in a negative way. But they sat here and initiated that he have visitation with my son. Not only that, he was a bad influence to be around. I kept him away for over 10 years. My kids did not see them for over 10 years till the Children and Family Services introduced and reintroduced them back to their lives. And then they said, my son tried to steal a Black and Mild when he AWOL'd. Well, guess what? I was told by the therapist that while he's been on the phone recently with his father, he saw his father smoking a Black and Mild right in his face. So my son, who hadn't had any connection with his father, is looking at him and seeing this negative behavior, which Children and Family Services put in front of him. But you want to label me as a neglectful parent and everything else. They don't care about the kids. And I'm bringing this forward because I'm exposing everything, because they think they're going to keep my kids for another 6 months, for a total of 2 years, even though they dropped the ball purposely and intentionally delay getting therapy. They intentionally delay giving us the services that we need. They knew there was nothing ever wrong to take them out of the house in the first place. They lied about everything. So I just want to read this scripture here. Because, see, there is a sovereign God that is over every wicked, corrupt judge. And even though judges get away with doing things because men are biased and they feel that those who are in high position of authority feel there's no one to be accountable for, that they can make their own rules and make their laws and refuse to abide by their own laws. Well, guess what? There is a sovereign God that you now have to answer to, because these are God's children. I already talked about this many a times, that every living, breathing soul belongs to God. Everything in this earth is his and everything thereof, and he's seeing all the unjust, wicked things that were done, and he is going to come after you. Now, I'm reading from the book of Isaiah in the Bible, King James Version, Isaiah chapter 49, verses 24 through 26, and it says, "Shall the prey be taken from the mighty, or the lawful captive delivered? But thus saith the Lord, even the captives of the mighty shall be taken away, and the prey of the terrible shall be delivered. For I will contend with him that contended with thee, and I will save thy children, and I will feed them that oppress thee with their own flesh, and they shall be drunken with their own blood, as with sweet wine. And all flesh shall know that I, the Lord, am thy Savior and thy Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob." So I'm letting you know, those who are in children family services, those who are in these court judicial systems who are holding these children who have done wrong, he's going to feed you with your own flesh. You think you're going to get away with it here? You might be able to get away with it with man, but he's going to hold you accountable. Do you have anything to say? I have my mom here.
You know, going through this with my daughter, it hurts my heart to see my daughter and my grandchildren hurt. So when you do these things, you're hurting the entire household. And what my daughter says, the therapy, there was nothing wrong. She had 4 diagnoses. There was nothing wrong with her. She was very normal. And these people are doing this because they know they took my grandchildren out of the house wrongfully and wickedly. And God is coming forth to judge them. As she is a prophet and another one is a prophet, you will be judged. See, the thing is, the court system, they have their education, they have this, they have that, but they don't have God. And so that's where they're going to be fooled. Because God says, I am going to judge you. He's going to require your blood upon your hands.
And they're accountable for every child. Everything that's happened to my children while they've been in the foster care system, everything that's happened to other children, everything they've neglected and failed to do, is all going to be upon them. They're going to be accountable for every child, all the damage that was caused, all the things you've done to destroy the bond and relationship. You have touched God's children. You have touched his anointed. And he says, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. So that is the message going forth now. Judgment is here. Thank you.